Good morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I wanted to kind of explain something. First of all, if you hear this squeak, that's this thing. But I kind of wanted to explain something. So in the last video that y'all seen, we installed the new headlights here in the 6.0, and the way we wired them, y'all seen, was, if we can focus here, you can see, turn the key on and the lights go on. So we wired these things to be ignition hot with the key, obviously. So when you turn the key on, lights come on, right? So I wanted to kind of make this video to further explain why. So let's we'll get right into it. So there's a few different ways you can wire things in, especially on a vehicle, but the main ways that you have is battery power through a switch, ignition power, and then switched ignition power. So a bit of a kind of an idea of full-time battery powered stuff would be, in something like this, not the best idea because it would be constantly running. Something like that would be, for instance, on the white truck, the amp. The amp is battery powered. Now the radio tells it what to do and whatnot, but the amp has constant battery power. But again, it's not real common to have something that's always drawing current from the battery. It's not a real good idea because it's a good way to drain your battery. But that moves on to switched battery power, and that would be stuff like, you know, your high beams here, flash to pass. You can see there in the reflection, right? Or just the headlights, right? So that is, again, switched battery power. What else in here? Stuff like the dome lights, right? All this stuff doesn't have battery power. Another thing I just thought of that does have constant battery power in this truck is stuff like the little cigarette ports, you know, phone chargers and whatnot. This one in this truck always has power, even right now, and the truck hasn't been running since last night. I know some vehicles this times out. Some vehicles it cuts out, it's ignition powered, but in this truck that port is constantly powered. So that's again kind of a example of constant power. So we have, again, y'all just seen, you know, switch power. So now we'll move on to ignition power. So ignition power would be stuff like the radio, the climate control, four-wheel drive, those headlights, so on and so forth, right? Now the four-wheel drive is switched. I mean, a lot of this stuff is all switched power. But with the ignition on here, you see it powers up our factory auxiliary switches. Turn the key off, they go off. So another example for these would be like the light bar, right? Switched ignition power. Now this is nice for a few different things. Kind of a pain in the rear end sometime, to be completely honest. So for instance, my light bar, right? If we come out here, we're working on something at night, we need extra light. run that light bar that I have mounted behind the grill, the truck has to be running or key on. So it's not the most ideal, but in a way it's a bit safer in the instance of you don't have to worry about draining your batteries unless you just turn the key on and just leave the key on without the engine running. It's kind of a 50-50 there, but it's not a big deal. Whereas on the blue truck here, the light bar in the front bumper there, it is wired directly to the battery with a switch, obviously, and then fuse and relay and all that stuff. But on that truck, I can come out here and, without the key, turn that light bar on. Again, without any ignition source of power. So, if we come in here, we will hit the switch and I'll show y'all. So, truck's not running, truck's not on. Come over here, hit switch, and we have light. Anyway, like I was saying, you hit that switch in here and come out here and we have light. So, again, that's kind of nice because the truck doesn't have to be running or key on or anything like that, and you can use your light. For stuff that use a lot of power, it's not really recommended. But anyways, again, like I was saying, stuff like that is not really recommended, especially on a half-ton truck with a single battery, or a gasser with a single battery. Those of you who don't know, a diesel truck, generally speaking, has 2 batteries, which is pretty nice. But stuff like that is generally not recommended to run a long time if the engine isn't running. That way you're not charging. For example, you go on Walmart, you leave your headlights on, and you have halogen bulbs or anything like that. I have LEDs in this truck, so LEDs are pretty efficient. They don't use a whole lot of power, in comparison to LEDs or HIDs or halogens or stuff like that. So LEDs are a bit more efficient, but say, in this truck, halogen bulbs, you go in the store, shut your truck off, and you have your lights on over here on the switch, and you're in Walmart for 2-3 hours, your battery dies from leaving switch power on, kills battery, whatever. So in an instance, stuff like, again, these factory auxiliary switches, is nice to have ignition powered. That way you don't have to worry about forgetting them. Now, I'll give you all an example of one thing for this truck that I want to do that will more than likely be battery powered, switch battery power, is rock lights. So, rock lights don't use a ton of power. Probably wouldn't make a bit of difference in this truck. Again, considering it has 2 batteries, and rather nice batteries at that. But rock lights. So, you go to Walmart or a truck meet or whatever, or just, out here in the yard, you flip your rock lights on, you leave them, whatever. Again, they don't draw a ton of electricity, so you don't have to worry about zapping your battery over something like, say, a power inverter or something like that that does draw a bunch of energy. And, you know, something like rock lights. You don't want to turn the key on and, you know, leave your truck sitting in your yard or in a parking lot somewhere or whatever with the key on just to run rock lights. So that is an example of something I'm probably going to use on this truck. That'll be battery power, switch battery power. Again, ignition is nice because you don't have to worry about turning it off or turning it on. But if you wire something up like we did my headlights here, to where they are ignition power with key, there's no kill, there's no on, there's no nothing, there's no way to turn them off. Now, I mean, for what I was going for with these, I mean, again, you see them there, but what I was kind of going for with those is the effect of like the new trucks, the new Super Duties and whatnot. You turn the key on, lights come on, you know, and you're good to go. They're like DRLs essentially. So that's kind of what I was going for with these. That's the reasoning behind those. Now another thing that you can also do is you can wire in to certain things. For instance, y'all know on the white truck there and the blue truck here, I put flush mount pods in the rear bumper. Those are not switched. Those come on when you put the truck in reverse. They come on with the reverse lights right on, you know, right with them. You ain't got to worry about them. Turn them off, turn them on, whatever. So that's again another example. Another thing that's wired like that is the park sensors, reverse cameras, stuff like that. Generally speaking, is always wired to the reverse lights or some sort of reverse input. So anyway, like I said, I thought I would explain some of that and kind of the reasoning behind that. Again, there's a million different ways to do it. You know, like the old saying goes, there's more than one way to skin a cat. It's all dependent on you, the installer, what you're wiring it to, you know, so on and so forth. But that's just a little bit of an explanation as to why we wired these headlights the way we did. Because I know that was the last video that I recorded. So, again, just thought I'd explain that a little bit and some of the different ways that you can do different things. But anyway, guys, that's probably going to be a wrap for today's video. If you guys enjoyed today's video or found it helpful, please drop a like and comment down below. Hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope y'all have a great day.